On this lovely Sunday, we have Tayshun, who has been a Bitcoiner for a long time and has many, many stories to tell. He is the producer and content creator of Bitcoin Video Magazine and he's on a mission to orange pill the world and educate fellow plebs. Now, here's a little background. Like a crazy fool, he bought his first bit of Bitcoin on April Fool's Day of 2013. He attended his first meetup a year later and studied everything available about Bitcoin at the time, which surprisingly was only periodically a few times a week. He started putting out the first Bitcoin ATMs in California and attended his first Bitcoin conference, the North American Bitcoin Conference in Miami in January 2015. He closely followed sagas like the Paycoin drama, became intimately aware of scams at the time, including OneCoin Ponzi scam, and his work garnered a lot of attention, which we can get into if he wants to. But more importantly, now he is working on Bitcoin Video Magazine, recently released its Genesis issue last month. You can find that on YouTube at Bitcoin Video Magazine. Tim, thank you for joining me today.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. This kind of came together last minute. I unexpectedly had the day off today because Super Bowl is typically slower in the restaurant industry. I manage a restaurant down in Southern California by the beach, and yeah, so I still got one foot planted there, but I'm taking breaths more frequently from the fiat mine, and I'm climbing out slowly but surely.
Yeah, a lot of us balance, we got our fiat job life and we fit in Bitcoin on the side. And then some of us too, that Bitcoin world grows and grows and grows. And then how do you find a balance where, yeah, you've got your job, you got your obligations, you may have, social things and family, whatnot that you got to make all work. Even as with Bitcoin Video Magazine, it's growing as a project and it could consume a lot. It'll take whatever you got, I suppose. So you're just busy, I imagine.
Yeah, there's no balance.
No balance. Just going all the time.
There's no balance right now, but there will be. And you just gotta rock and roll and wake up every day and be stoked. And now I have something that that myself and my team are excited about and that drives us. I mean, not that I wasn't already excited before. I'm kind of just that bouncy person, but now I have like a full rad mission that I'm super stoked on. I remember working in surfing and skateboarding, television and video production years ago. And we did a program called Disgusted TV. It was what it first was. It was a leased access TV show that we started in South Orange County. I actually came in several issues in and helped produce and market and bring in advertisers and stuff like this. And the thing that we had that was great is that our filmers were awesome, and the skaters and surfers that we were filming with out of San Clemente were fantastic. And so people liked what we were doing, although we had shitty cameras and shitty editing equipment at the time. Our editors were really good, and they were fast moving, fast paced, synchronized with like music and stuff like that. And I did not do any editing whatsoever myself until just this past summer. I was thinking of that I would have to outsource the editing and stuff like that. And before Bitcoin Video Magazine #1 came out, it was a concept that I can talk about and try to explain, but unless you see it, you don't get it. Like, what is a Bitcoin Video Magazine? Like, Isn't that just, taking Bitcoin Magazine and putting the word video in there? But no. In fact, Disgusted TV became Progression Video Magazine. Disgusted TV was we were disgusted with the way that surfing, skateboarding, and snowboarding was being portrayed on mainstream TV. It was just lame. It was boring. It was contests only, and it's like, come on, you guys could do better than this. And so that was like the first half of our epic was Disgusted TV, and as we started growing that into different areas, both in California, and we picked up like Aspen and Telluride, Colorado, Park City, Utah, parts of Florida, that we're literally paying, you know, $30 a month for, or 30, yeah, in some cases $30, some cases 100 or $150 a month for just a little 30-minute video that we would do bi-weekly. And people would tune in and write us, you know, cool letters about, hey, you guys are inspiring me to skate, or, you know, hey, I'm 13 years old and I love watching this every single week, and
Nice.
you guys did a rerun last episode, you know, stuff like this, and so it was inspiring. I brought on one of my buddies that I went to high school with. His name is Grant Schubert. He's a great filmer and a great editor. And producer as well now. And he had grown up in Japan and was able to get our show on in Japan through a network called Gaora TV. And from there, we started. We made some, you know, partnerships with like a company called the International Channel, and then we were in many different countries. Although the show was on at, you know, sporadic times depending on the area and region. But you know, last year, and actually since COVID, I had been trying to replace the job that I work now to work full time in Bitcoin. And I was working part time in Bitcoin since, you know, 2016, and even before that really, but 2016 was when I joined actually my third Bitcoin ATM company that I co-founded, which was we were placing Bitcoin ATMs in different spots in California. We got up to like 24 machines. And at that point, it went in. We had I think 6 or 7 in Texas. We had 1 in Ohio. We had a couple in Las Vegas for a while, and then they made some new money transmitters laws that, you know, that were going to cost some upfront fees that are the volumes that we were doing on them just didn't make sense. And then, you know, over the last couple of years, Bitcoin has just been people have been building, and the on ramps and off ramps have been a lot easier and more intuitive, and you know, you can just do it on a phone app and pay far less than you would on a Bitcoin ATM. But a Bitcoin ATM was very what's the word, lo-fi in a way.
Did you say it's more anonymous? People like to get non-KYC Bitcoin on ATMs. Not that it's perfect, but it's better.
Yes and no. So if we explore this first part of the story,
I don't want to get on a rabbit hole, but anyway.
Yeah. No, this is we have time. But this is a little controversial because from my standpoint, Bitcoin, you know, I like to operate Bitcoin in as pseudonymous or anonymous fashion as possible, just for privacy and security and all these other sorts of things. And Bitcoin ATMs typically are not that. If they're operating compliantly under, you know, under federal and state laws. And so the founder and CEO of our company, you know, he is a like 80-year-old man who's a Bitcoiner, by the way. He attended one of my early Bitcoin meetups in like 2015. And we began talking, and, you know, I had 2 bad experiences with Bitcoin ATM companies. One, in 2014, I helped place and worked for 1 year on getting a Bitcoin ATM into the busiest train station and transportation depot in Orange County, California. And that machine ended up doing, it was probably the 7th biggest, you know, highest performing machine on you know, on the map. And at the time, it was Orange County's first 2-way Bitcoin machine. I think the 277th Bitcoin ATM in the world. I really tried to get in the world. Yeah. And now there's, you know, 30,000, 40,000, I don't know. You can look at coinatmradar.com to find Bitcoin ATMs near you. So my partner and I had kind of partnered with this other company, and to make a long story short, they like they promised and shook hands and things like this, and they're all, thanks so much, this is a great place, we're going to do great together and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool, sign this sign this agreement, and blah blah blah. And it all of a sudden the launch date came, right, and they hadn't signed. I'm like, shit. And I'm like, all right, well, shit, I'm not going to not have this on the opening day of Arctic Station, which is Arctic is Anaheim Regional Transportation Intermodal Corridor, located directly next to the pond in Anaheim, which is the Mighty Ducks, where they play, and Anaheim Stadium for the California Angels. Right, they're
Beautiful.
literally like stone throw away. This is this big turtle-looking building with neon lights, and it's rad.
Mhm.
And so months and months drag on, and these guys aren't paying what we had agreed to, shaking hands on, what we'd been meeting for months, and all this stuff. And they totally screwed my friend and I. And we never received a single Satoshi, despite our agreement probably putting us in there for about 80 to 120, somewhere between 80 and 120 Bitcoin was what our portion of that would have been, because at the time Bitcoin price fluctuated mostly between like $300 and like maybe 1,000 or so, something like that. So
Not insignificant. Was that
yeah.
more of were they like scammers going in, or was it like a
No, they were like bro bras, corporate bro bra guys. And I had come from the surf industry and skate industry. And when you shake someone's hand, it's like, okay, cool, we're brothers. But now this is like a kind of a fintech space in a bit, right? And they're like, it was a lesson. It was a lesson learned.
Yeah.
So in 2016, the CEO, this guy approached me, Javad, and he's like, okay, you want to do this again? I'm all, not really, but and so we did it again, and it was interesting, and I did that part-time. And over what I was saying is that over the years, along with the on ramps and off ramps becoming easier, the regulatory environment started getting harder. And so last year we started winding down our operations. California specifically just had some bogus rules that were, and regulations that were coming in, that it didn't make sense for us to continue down that path long term. So I sold the ATM machines to another company that was going to deploy them out in like Florida and some other areas, and sold them in Bitcoin at a 20% discount rather than taking fiat, which was cool. And of course, the company got most of that, but I made some Bitcoin off of it, which was great. Cool. And one of the things that I did there was fraud prevention. That was the thing that I kind of gravitated towards, because there is almost no other industry than Bitcoin ATMs that people unfortunately get scammed on. And so I put together some protocols that helped us save over $1 million from customers that would have otherwise, been scammed. Maybe it's 2 or 3 million, but at least $1 million safely. And so I learned about all the romance scams and these sort of things. Oh. And so the protocol that we had put in place was that if it's a first-time customer transacting over a certain amount, then I'll get an immediate text flag on that transaction, and it's a yellow flag, is what we would consider it. And I mean, you got to understand that a Bitcoin ATM legally at the federal level, up to $1,000 requires your phone number. That's pretty easy. Between $1,000 and $3,000 purchase, it would also require your driver's license. And for $3,000 or greater, and most ATMs would cap that at around 10 grand within a 24-hour period. That would require your phone number, driver's license, your social security number, and your present physical address. So there definitely is KYC, although many BTM operators, not, I don't know if many, yeah, a lot of BTM operators were like, cool, let me buy a machine and plug it in and, start, printing Satoshis. And that's not how it worked. And a lot of these machines, because they didn't have good fraud prevention and compliance, were little money market or money laundering circles and just fraud honeypots. And so, so we operated compliantly because you don't want to mess with the federal government. There's stories in California where the feds pulled up and literally, walked into an establishment, took the ATM, threw it in the back of a truck, drove it away, and a couple days later, the operators were arrested. So that would be bad news. Yeah. And from I was first offered the compliance officer position, and I'm all, oh, hells no. And one of the reasons is because if you mess up your compliance,
liability, like you're in trouble.
7 years in prison and up to $500,000 fine per incident, by the way. Oh boy. So I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not. I'll do fraud prevention. I'm good at that. But
and real quick here, you might have cut out. Oh, there you are. Just throwing up the screen here. I went to that Coin ATM radar site, and so I mean there are a ton of ATMs all around, and I guess you can zoom in here, but I guess if you're going to different ATMs and you're buying small amounts of it, and maybe the rules can change and whatnot, but you could get more anonymous or pseudonymous Bitcoin if you buy small amounts and are going to different ATMs, perhaps. I guess, I mean, that's one way to do it. And now he's adjusting his video screen here, but I'm going to bring you real quick here too. He's got his Bitcoin video magazine on YouTube. You can go to youtube.com, find Bitcoin Video Magazine. And what you do here, you get there, you see that subscribe button right there. You click that, just like that. It's that easy, folks. So now I'm subscribed on this account. Now the Genesis issue is out here, and you can check that out. The second one is coming up. He'll tell us about when he's ready. Is that coming out this month or next month? Oh, he'll be back. He's going to reconnect here. I know it's coming up perhaps monthly is what the goal is, but he'll clarify on that. Let's go to, I'm going to play real quick. Add to stage. I'm going to play one of the intro vids. I don't know if you can, probably can't hear the audio though. The first one premiered January 3rd. Issue number 1. Warn a friend. Tim, can you hear me? I don't have audio now, though. Technical wonkeries. We're getting the setup going here. Let me share a different screen here. I have a preview of episode 2 that is coming up. I'm going to add a screen that is the tab of the video, a punk. Here we go. I'm going to play this. Add to screen. Tim will rejoin here when he can. Okay, I was just playing.
Okay, am I back?
Yeah, you're in. Yeah, I can hear you fine. I was just playing the little preview you did of magazine.
Sweet. Okay, cool. So I'm going to turn down my other Sorry about that. I got an incoming phone call and I didn't think about what would happen if that happened.
Oh, you just suddenly
cool. So I'm gonna turn down my other.
your audio went away.
Okay,
So when
there it
people
is.
think of the term magazine, here's how
but now I can't hear you.
I have a background in like.
Now I can't hear you.
And so, when you're shooting a gun, and people will often say clip, and it's not a clip. A clip is like an old thing from World War II that might have been used in certain rifles.
What on earth?
What pistols and rifles?
I'm going to turn my other device.
A magazine.
World War II.
A magazine holds a series of rounds.
What pistols
more than one clip.
Turn my other device.
Oh, a magazine. I can hear magazine holds a series of rounds. Can you mute that video that's playing of me?
A magazine or two. I can hear magazine. A series of rounds.
I can hear myself. So anyway, the term magazine, it's not like you think about, you go down to the newsstand and buy a magazine. Go on my laptop and go onto this link here. Sorry, guys. Oh, it's all good. So anyway, I'm describing the concept of a magazine where people think, oh, it's the newsstand paper glossy thing you might get. A magazine can represent a stack of many things that are issued over time. Check your mic. No, it should work. I hear you fine. Can you hear me? Can I hear you now? Can you hear me? I hear you fine. I can't hear you. We totally prepped for this, didn't we? Yeah, I know. We had it all prepped and stuff. Okay. It says everyone can see and hear you, but I can't hear you. Jeez. Okay. Or try or use headphones and plug it into a device that can play it. I don't know, but I don't want the delay to affect anything. So anyway, while he works on the technical difficulties, Elizabeth says she can hear us both. But I don't hear you for some reason, Tim. Oh, he'll rejoin. Okay. This can happen when we're rolling live. It's the nature of the game I play here is we're live and it's fun and interactive. And then like sometimes the host has this go on and then it's part of what it is. Okay. So I'm going to share the remainder of
through the Square platform. Merchants will soon be able to accept
Bitcoin instantly.
But what if it sucks?
There's Tim. What if it sucks?
Hola, mi nombre es Emily y no sé nada sobre Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
Now Tim has
Jazz is out tonight at the PUBG in DC.
Up here. Okay. You can go to Easy Coin Access. Tim, I think I heard you. Okay, I'm going to remove. Hold on. I'm going from my computer now. I can hear you, Tim. So you'll see me from blockchain BTM or something. Screen. Allow mic and access. Yes. Oh. Wow. Okay. I'm going to add this screen window here. Okay. All right, I'm back. I think. I hear you. I just don't see you. Window here. Okay. All right, I'm back. And I think. I hear you. I just don't see you. Window here. Okay. And I also hear myself. I hear you. Yeah. Oh boy. Here, let me mute this one. How's that? Now I don't hear you. All right, can you hear me now? Oh, I hear you, but it's, you get an echo. So maybe if you turn the volume down on that whatever device is recording. Now I don't hear you. I turned it. Oh, I hear you, but I think our workaround is to have you on two screens here. Funny enough. I turned it. Okay, and I'm the still producer hear me? Of the show, so all this multitasking lands on me. Sorry, Robert. I hear you fine now. Okay, cool. So I have volume down on both my computer and on this. Am I echoey? It sounds all right now.
Okay.
And I'm
Sorry
gonna
about
do-
that. That's an incoming phone call that messed everything up.
Okay, now say something. See if I can still hear you.
Hello.
Okay, I hear you still. Okay, good.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Woo! This is how we roll, folks. I was just telling them how, yeah, my production as producer and comment filter and everything is what it is. Okay, Claude Bot, you're not doing your job today.
Yep.
Okay, so thanks guys for hanging in there with us. Anyway, so yeah, the concept of magazine. I was just repeating myself about how the concept of a magazine. People think about the newsstand, little glossy thing, whatever. But to be honest, I mean, you've got a video magazine. That's where you're going to have a series going on YouTube. And let's see. Oh, this is your website. I brought them to Bitcoin Video Magazine. How you subscribe? You've got your Genesis issue 1. Number 1 is right here. Came out last month. And
that's Easy Coin Access, my old site. Yeah. Oh, I think that my video is delayed, so I'll just listen to you instead.
Okay. All right. And I'm going to try to up your audio a little bit.
Sorry.
Okay. But you can hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay, good. This works. Phew. Okay, so we can roll. Okay, so I wanted to, before we get too lost, because you got stories to tell, I want to feature Bitcoin Video Magazines. How did this vision come to you? What inspired getting this off the ground and going?
Perfect. Thanks for reeling me back, and I apologize to everyone that's in here for the crazy crazy thing. So I had been applying for Bitcoin jobs and just getting rejected, and what I found out is, of course, markets work on supply and demand, and you know, Bitcoin, unless you're really in a niche or an engineer or something like that, they probably aren't going to pay what you might get working a fiat job, in which you could just buy more Bitcoin anyways. I mean, yes, it's cool to work in the Bitcoin industry, but if you can make more money, stack sats, and have more free time, then that's a win too. So getting these denials back and stuff like that, I started thinking, okay, well, there's got to be a different way. I could come in, I could help do videos, I could help, you know, these companies do all these things. And I talked to the CFO of a certain company, I'm not going to say who, and he's just like, bro, why don't you just do it yourself? Why come to us? Because we're just going to take your intellectual property and you know, go with it. And if we have to fire you later, we're just going to fire you anyways. So I'm like, holy cow, that's true, right? Might as well do it myself. And that's really when I started, you know, putting this together and figuring out that the model is very similar to what I did in the surf, skate, snow industry for so long, for 7.5 years anyways. And I could cover the entire ecosystem in 3 to 6 minute segments that are impactful, fast moving, that keep your attention. But if you're like, hey, I'm not a mining guy, or I, you know, am not interested in Bitcoin art, you just skip the section like you would in a regular magazine. And so we're going to add like place markers so that in our videos that you can like skip the news desk, for instance. The news desk is there's an AI anchor, and we're bringing in a new AI anchor, another co-anchor for to kind of get some banter back and forth. But we'll also have like live, you know, people that we're going on location with. And one such, gosh, I don't know if I want to. I'm not going to give it away. There's some cool people that'll be, you know, coming in there giving news on location in Gothenburg, Sweden, and stuff like this. And so it's just kind of a interesting fantasy reality type of you know, segment that brings whatever news happened between issues, right? The most important Bitcoin news. And again, that's the reel for it's called News Desk for Number Go Up, and it's hosted by Natasha Nguyen. And the story behind that is I was like, man, I wish I could find, you know, someone in the Bitcoin space that was fluent in Bitcoin, super stoked about it, and their last name was Nguyen. And my buddy, I've known for 20 years, co-producer Joe Hernandez, is like, bro, I'll make her. He's an expert in AI and has been, you know, doing stuff with AI for probably about, I don't know, 4.5 years at least. And so I'm like, dude, that's perfect. So News Desk is for a little bit for noobs and for number go up people and FOMO people to kind of, you know, get them in there. And it's something totally different and experimental. And that's fun too.
Yeah.
But then everything past that, from the podcast highlights to the pleb profile and tutorials, etc., is like, you know, pure signal. And that's what we want to make it. And there's definitely something for everyone. And anyone who watches it, even if you don't know anything about Bitcoin, will walk away knowing more than probably 95% of the people, and certainly 99% of the people that they know. And we want to make it fun. And that's what the whole video magazine and the video magazine format is, as you can kind of see behind me. These are sections and a format that will be recurring every issue throughout a long series that hopefully one day culminates in being featured on whatever mainstream media platforms are at some point 2 years in the future, in order to simply orange pill and educate new people.
Yeah, and you've reached out to a lot of content creators, podcasters, and others. Like, so basically, if you are a creator in this Bitcoin space, folks, anyone listening, reach out to Tim, and you can send him clips or the best of the beat. He's got a section for you where he'll feature your stuff. It can be 15 seconds long. It can be not more than 2 minutes long. Send it to Tim or connect with him one way or another. And you'll see yourself, you can be featured in the magazine. And for him, it's good clips of good content. And for you, it represents and platforms you and shares the community, if you will, of creators out in the space.
Yeah. So we're looking for, you know, I mean, it could be little tiny clips of 15 or 30 seconds, or it could be up to maybe 1.5 minutes, and then it starts getting long, 2 minutes maximum, probably 1.5 minutes. And that are just, you know, little banger clips of just signal or paradigm shift that makes people think a little bit differently about a certain subject, or about how Bitcoin works in, you know, in this way or that way that maybe you didn't intuitively think of already. Because one thing that's so awesome about Bitcoin and so exciting is, even having been in it for, you know, 13 years and literally, you know, been learning a little bit more about it every single day for that long, it's endless. All the, you know, stuff that keeps coming up and that you keep learning, and it's awesome. Yeah,
I'm still learning all the time myself. Or people say, oh, have you heard of this person, this podcaster, whatever, this book? And when I don't, I'm like, man, as much as I try to keep up and pay attention, I can't stay on top of everything, and I don't know what I don't know, but I'm always learning myself. So, and your video editing work and production work is great. You add a lot of vibrant effects and action to it. It must take a lot of time. I mean, you do a lot of video editing, I only imagine.
Yeah, man. And and the honest truth is, I only started doing any video editing this summer. And what helped me is, I've done a lot of, you know, graphic design and stuff like that, like still print stuff. And I've been into photography for a long time. But going back in my mind towards Disgusted TV and Progression Video Magazine, it really started to sink in that this needs to have a heartbeat, and you want to breathe it. You know, and if you could get viewers to actually breathe with you through these sections and even get pumped up a little bit, you know, not just because the content, but because the music, there's something about audio and visual stimulation together, which forms a synergy in which the sum of their equal parts is greater than their whole. Yeah. And so it's so much fun. It's so tedious. And my girlfriend's like, oh my God, I've heard that same line 66 times, you know, and it's like this long. And it's funny, like some content is conducive to kind of playing out for a little, whereas others, it's like, they bring some bells and whistles in, right? And the pre-intro on the next issue is exactly that as well. There's a lot of tension. I want to build tension. I produced and co-produced I was listed as a producer, so I could say I produced it. A full feature indie film that someone had contacted me just before COVID. About a year or two before COVID, wanting to see if our Bitcoin ATM company would sponsor this little mini film called Crypto Heads. And so, by the way, Bitcoin Video Magazine, Bitcoin only, me, Bitcoin monetary maximalist. I don't really play around with other stuff. I've been through that phase. I lost mostly. I gained and lost, but whatever. But Crypto Heads, the movie project, was interesting because these guys really didn't know what they were. Well, talented, okay, great writer, great director, great script writer, but not very knowledgeable about Bitcoin and crypto in general and whatever. And so I thought it might be an interesting opportunity to kind of go in there and introduce Bitcoin foundations a little bit more, within that film. And we released it about a year ago. It's on Apple iTunes or on Apple Play and on Apple TV, on Google Play, and on, I don't know, another one, whatever. But anyways, so that was another thing that gained me some, more and more recent behind the scenes kind of, production, talents, how things were working. And so I employed some of those in this storytelling, and everything I think is about storytelling. One of the things that I think Bitcoin Video Magazine solves, one of the problems that it solves, is that there's a lot of great content out there, but there are a lot of podcasts that feature very technical stuff, or that a lot of noobs can get lost in. Sure. And I think that bringing something more down to their level and compacting it, and TikTok for Bitcoiners, TikTok for adults, whatever, is just packaged, in a 1 hour show, I think has its value, particularly for short attention spans and for newcomers.
Yeah, you think about someday in the future when, Bitcoin is integrated more completely, say, or realign more of the traditional finance stuff, or it's kind of more ubiquitous. I'm just imagining a future world where people today don't exactly know what the dollar is, where the dollar comes from, how the dollar works, how banking works. And you don't want to talk about that. Now, Bitcoin is a way better story of hope than that. But someday in the future, I'm going to see people with realigned incentives and hope and passion and creativity that may not want to know that all the technical things behind it. They know that it works and how it affects them, but that's not necessarily their interest. And what you're editing, when you think about the tight, short clips and the keeping it interesting, there is going to be a hunger, and especially in younger generations, they want it to pop. They want it to engage them and be interesting. And what they're learning about it is going to be different. It's going to be more about sort of like what art does. They may not want to get into the gritty details of all the how-to things. They're going to have the experience of Bitcoin as they, are growing and pushing in their lives. It makes me think of what MTV did to television back in the 80s when I was a kid, and MTV just was different. And then came and through MTV was reality TV. And when you watch editing on old stuff, where old movies, old shows, the pacing is all different. And then you watch modern like reality TV. If you imagine yourself being like a producer or an editor, the shots and the jump from clip to shots and stuff, they're so tiny, like a second to 3 seconds at a time. It's just boom, boom, boom. It has become an editing task. These shows, they have so much footage, but people aren't going to sit there in long form like like they might listen to this one. But they, a lot of people are going to pop through and pay attention to what pops, and they may not sit through and listen to a long dialogue. So you're working on keeping it popping,
Yeah, and sometimes the content itself just does that for it, and sometimes it's conducive to get in there and granulize. So if the content is handling it itself, then that's fantastic. But you want to kind of change up some camera angles and get just visually make your mind start engagement. And what you were saying originally in terms of putting getting new people involved, they want to know why something like this, which at one point before 1972 said we'll pay the bearer on demand in silver, to something like this and something like this.
$100 trillion.
Yeah.
Those are
okay. So that could lead into my story on the first Bitcoin conference I ever attended. That's a fun one.
Yeah, I want to get into those stories. So to cap off Bitcoin Video Magazine, tell me about your vision and your goal with it, what you want it to become, just to make sure I hear all that.
Totally. So and I would love to bounce back and forth into it as well, because that's okay. Basically my life right now, and, cool. and my vision, and it's a dream that's beginning to come true as I'm taking steps, as I'm getting more community involvement. And community involvement is the thing that is the most important thing that's going to help us grow and stuff like that. And so I was thinking about the Bitcoin network itself and how its decentralization of nodes contribute to the security and consensus of the whole mechanism. And so when planning and thinking about how to do this, I thought that was so important to make us bigger and better as a whole, to capture and encapsulate that synergy. And so I also thought about a show called America's Funniest Home Video. And America's Funniest Home Video was the #1 TV show for over a decade, in the US, and then it expanded internationally. This is probably in your and my
I remember that.
But people sent content to them for free in hopes that they would get on the show. And the ones that were really good got on the show, and the ones that were the best won a reward at the end of the show. So with that model in mind, I said, everybody wants a Bitcoin side hustle. And so if they want a Bitcoin side hustle and they're going to meetups, and there it is, and they're talking, yeah. And they're talking to people on the streets, or they're trying to orange pill their friends, or they've got a buddy that's building, a company or a Bitcoin card game or video game or something like this that's interesting and has good content. I want to work with them, and so we put together a media kit that shows that you can earn Bitcoin while contributing to Bitcoin Video Magazine, and so that is going to be on our website. Our website is forthcoming very soon. Very soon. That's a quote in this space for sure. So I think within a week or 2 weeks, but usually within 2 weeks means in 2 weeks you say it's coming out in 2 weeks. But this one I think really is. So we'll have all that information on there, and we're going to update it. And we'll pay in sats, and as we start moving into more and more episodes and becoming more organized, like this, like in terms of organization, let me just demonstrate something here.
Yeah.
So this right here is called the mempool, right? And this is when the blocks settle.
Gotcha.
So these are the ideas, and so things have to make it into the mempool first, and then it gets onto the it settles in the blockchain, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I think about that. But as we move on into new episodes, and this thing's starting to fill up too, and this is also a dream board, and things that you may or may not see on there are definitely in the works, but not necessarily totally nailed down, but kind of, yeah.
How it goes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's just exciting to be able to do that. I mean, and rather than having a full team that I would have to, pay salaries or hourlies to, by outsourcing this content to the community, same community can be rewarded in Bitcoin for participating. Now we are at the early stages, and if you're like, oh, bro, I'll just, I want to help out and stuff like that, dude, I appreciate you. Because this is self-funded at this point. And while we're growing, I know that soon, we're going to have the support in order to both, for me to work on this full time, because really, in order to get this down into like a bi-weekly show, I need to work on it full time, and we need to bring on some other people. We got Bitcoin Bazooka in the chat room, by the way, and he's been doing some amazing stuff with us. He's helped out with some editing, some ideas. He and I have developed a real good friendship, and actually, everyone in this room is like, dude, you guys all rock. So stoked.
Yeah.
And the Bitcoin Army has just been fantastic. And, I think that this is going to be fun for all of us. And as we grow, the pricing, the payout rates, rather than be denominated in dollars, because if we're going to move to a Bitcoin standard, we have to start thinking in Bitcoin, in Bitcoin terms. And so those rates will be denominated in Bitcoin rather than in fiat currency. So for instance, if, and I'm just going to throw something out, if the pay rate was 0.003 Bitcoin per minute, then it would be that until next issue. And then it would adjust at the next issue, so that if you're submitting and you get included in this issue, this is your pay rate. And you're like, okay, now I'm stacking exactly a percentage of Bitcoin rather than a dollar amount.
I love it. I think it's a good model. And so I've sent you some content. I'll do that more in the future. Other content creators out there, some of you just do little shorts and clips that you post on X or whatever. Hey, you never know. Send them to Tim.
Yeah.
You might get up in the magazine. It helps him out. It adds content. There is so much Bitcoin content being put out there, but for you alone to like curate, I mean, you don't know what you don't know. So if collaborators, creators help you provide their highlights that they like, you're going to get, better coming to you as well. So
yeah, and I mean, of course, if someone else is building and we're featuring projects and stuff like that, then if it's a mutual benefit, because any good content is a benefit both for Bitcoin Video Magazine as well as the community. But I don't want to pay sats for a company like, if River's like, oh, we'll do what's River? Let's do a 5-minute segment about it. Oh, here you go. Yeah, I'm not going to pay River, but I definitely want to support mom and pop shops. And Soap Miner had a commercial in our first video magazine. And he only accepts Bitcoin, which is awesome. I was like, man, we need more of this, and that's awesome. That's so great. And so I definitely want to support plebs, people that are coming, just starting to do cool stuff, and I think that's different than what a lot of the podcast world sees, in that there are maybe a dozen top Bitcoin influencers that circulate amongst the dozen top, podcasts or something like that. And there's a good time and place for all of that, but we have to stay rooted with our family and with our beginnings and stuff like that. And I think that this is and through a consensus model where this is hopefully a decentralized media, or that's what we want to be as a network of Bitcoiners that have kind of consensus input on Bitcoin Video Magazine, and keep us real, keep us grounded, keep putting together good content. Of course, if Sailor or someone else wants to come on the show, I'm not going to say no. But at the same time, that's not why this was created. We want to, we want to focus on a lot of the come ups and the new people and people that are inspiring us. Joshua, the Mexican magician, is someone who's been inspiring a lot of us recently, and that's definitely someone who's a good example of this. Elizabeth, thank you for she's contributing on another secret section that we got going on. And so what I can say is, with Bitcoin Video Magazine, while we have the breakdown that you do see as far as chapters and format go, which will always be the same, there will be sub chapters and there's going to be bumpers, and you can expect the unexpected.
Awesome. Yeah, dirty hands, clean money. Joshua's tapped into a life story there, and that's what people love. People want, pleb to pleb. We have our lives. We're staying humble and stacking sats. We're good. We have good values. We're raising kids. We're thinking about the future. People love that story because it's easy to find influencers out there that's like, well, apparently they made it and they're geniuses or whatever. And what I feel like, what I relate to is like, I'm an 80 IQ pleb who's got a fiat job, who stays humble and stacks sats and grinds in Bitcoin as I can on the side while I maintain a crazy balance, and then sleep where I can. And that's what a lot of these folks out there do is you're investing in the future, and yet we all agree on this one future purpose that is Bitcoin, which is just it's a huge, larger than the sum of all of its parts. It's just huge. And you're putting in a huge amount of proof of work here, grinding on this and putting in the time. And it takes time. You do this for a long time, and then you tap in, turn a corner, and then it can pop. So it takes time.
Yeah. So in order to get the chat group to participate, I have a little game that I want to play from something I made here. Hold on one second.
Okay, here we go. I've never had a live game here.
Okay. So can you read some of this or no? Like, hold on, I'm gonna hold it steady.
If you hold it steady, I think you can just see it. I think if the audience can see it, they'll let us know. Oh yeah, that's fine. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so audience, pick a subject, and we'll both talk about it.
Someone type in a subject that you can read here.
Something from the board here. And so I'm going to make posters of this and some T-shirts, and they'll be great for Bitcoin meetup groups because a new pleb can walk in and just you always have a topic to talk about. What does this mean? What does that mean? Any responses so far? Let's see.
I don't have a comment, but I could pick one.
Yeah, pick one.
Oh boy, some of these are big subjects. I'm aware of, I think, all of them. Okay, so how about, I don't have time to convince you. Sorry, Satoshi Nakamoto. This is an interesting one to me. I have things to say about that, but
let's go.
Satoshi somewhat famously, as Satoshi, explained and on the technical end and on the philosophical and historical end. I mean, talk about a polymath, but he would. All of us, I think, in a way, whether it's like family or friends or we're Bitcoiners, and you explain and educate and explain and explain. And at a point, if someone is just not getting there, you get to a point where you're like, okay, I can't explain everything to you forever. So you almost put some people in a bucket where you're going to get it at the price you deserve. I don't have time to explain it to you. Sorry. That's not who I want to be, but I get there with certain people when I've worked with them for maybe a year and they're still fudding on me. And I'm just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, and Satoshi had laid out all of his presentation and how this thing worked and stuff like that. And I mean, he must have been frustrated, just like what some of us go through with like friends and family that are like, oh, Bitcoin crashed.
Oh yeah. How's your Bitcoins lately? I just whatever.
It's like Bitcoin crashes. It crashes in this direction,
It's an uphill
But
roller coaster.
yeah. I have another idea for people. So I try to think of cool ways to stat sats, and so this is my vice jar, and so I have a little vice jar that if I drop a bad word or something like that, maybe I'll put a couple bucks
If your kids cuss, they gotta put some dirty fiat into their Bitcoin investment.
Moms could put something like that in, and then at the end of the week you're DCAing, and then you're teaching people, you're teaching your kids DCA, you're DCAing yourself. That's good fun.
One thing that a lot of Bitcoiners do when they think about, there's the numerology of Bitcoin where it's like the magic number of 21 and the calculations that go into the halving or into the roughly 10 minute, block issuance. And you had an interesting idea, and maybe more about this, you'll explain, but what calculates the halving rate, the number of blocks into a halving rate? And there's a number, there's that, like, what is it, 2016?
I think for the halving, I think it's 210,000 or 144,000 or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's a quick grok question, but I know that the difficulty adjusted proof of work takes place every 2016 blocks.
2016.
Which just happens to be about 2 weeks. And so we had, and that of course is rumored to possibly have also been a coincidence that Satoshi picked out for Executive Order 6102, which was when FDR issued the seizure of gold decree for World War II. But and I was going somewhere else with this. 2000. Oh, okay. So a couple of years ago, and every once in a while we see it. Several years ago, there was mad flooding and stuff like this in China, and this was at a time. Actually, this is many years ago, when China has gone on with and against Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining for like at least 7 times over the last 15 years. But during this occasion, there was massive floods in China, and most of the mining was actually centralized in China, just because the cheap energy and water will take the least path of resistance to its lowest point, and that's just markets. But like 15% or more of the hashing power that was going into it got wiped out in this flood. And so during that difficulty adjustment, when the 216th block was hit and it adjusted, what that essentially meant was if 15% of the mining power went offline, then you as a miner would have a 15% better chance of winning that lottery or solving the next block. Right. And that's just such a genius engineering game, element of game theory that Satoshi had designed when they had, come up with this whole thing. Mind blowing. It's fascinating. It's so awesome.
Yeah. It's layers upon layers of elegant design, planning way far ahead. And the adjustment rate itself doesn't just jerk around crazy. It adjusts clip by clip a little bit. It's the rate at which it adjusts is also moderated, so it can't, if it went way down real quick, it doesn't jerk itself down and jerk itself up. It actually ticks down on a kind of like it's more of an average, I guess you'd say, a regulated pace at which it will tick down until it hits there, and then it keeps itself leveled out a little bit better as well. But it's fascinating to think about the mechanics of all that.
Definitely.
Now, so thinking about ATMs, I think before we had a little technical difficulty, I started to have a thought about so the concept of, I've read things online where, like, go to ATMs, withdraw smaller amounts, or go to different ATMs. You can get your non-KYC Bitcoin by like not crossing certain thresholds, and don't go to the ATMs that require the KYC, and that you could get more anonymous Bitcoin that way through Bitcoin ATMs that way. But
so
more about that.
so in some cases, yes, but it's going to be hit or miss unless you really know the ATM company. What ATMs are great for is the same thing valet parking is great for, is that you don't want to hassle. You want to pull up right to right to the front, get in, get out, and not have to deal with other people, importantly, mostly. But like I said, with different on-ramps that have, and you're going to pay anywhere between, I think that the lowest rate is about 5.9% on a Bitcoin ATM, and the highest rate I've seen 33%. Like literally, it's crazy. And so you don't know what price you're getting, and the price listed is going to be our price, whatever. So you always want to check yourself. And what's crazy is that when we had underperforming machines, this meant machines that weren't doing much volume at all. Often we would drop the price on those machines just so that we didn't have to incur the price of moving them. And there's so many different variables in terms of the operational costs of a Bitcoin ATM machine. They got, usually an $8,000 machine or thereabout, some of them more, some of them less. You have to have a compliance program. You have to have a maintenance budget. You have to have insurance. We had one of our machines burned down in a gas station. The whole gas station burnt down. It wasn't because of the machine, but that was a total, loss. You have theft. We have several machines, at least two that were broken into, and they stole all the Bitcoins. They didn't steal all the Bitcoins; they stole the cash. But there wasn't much in one of them, and then there was about maybe $2,000 or $3,000 in another. But anyhow, you have to have people that can answer calls, and most Bitcoin ATM companies can't. You have to have someone that's doing fraud prevention, so that if you care about the Bitcoin system. And when I first implemented the anti-fraud program, it was for a first-time transactor over $1,000. But very quickly we realized that scammers would underbid that and would start trying to scam people for less. And so we ended up dropping it incrementally, like over a couple week period, like boom. Okay. Now I'm getting calls for almost every, couple $100 Bitcoin transaction from a new customer. And what we would do is we'll look at the machines have to have a camera on you at the time as a buying customer. And that camera takes snapshots every 7 seconds, something like that, 5 to 7 seconds. And so the reality is it's not really, non-KYC anyways, no matter what. But I know that if I looked at, if I got a notification and I looked at the screen and it was an old grandma that was looking at her phone, for instance, if she's like, like this, then
that the instructions, grandma.
Scammer just sent her a QR code on her phone and is like, and like I think 40 or 50% of those scams were romance.
Or romantic, yeah.
But there was all kinds of other ones. Like this one lady said, my husband was just in a car accident, and he had stopped and had like one beer, but he's going to jail. And the police said, unless I send Bitcoin, and so it's like heightened, act quickly. This, I'm all, no, this is, take a breath. It's going to be cool. This is
Slow
definitely
down.
Yeah.
In our county, we get scams where we've had people literally, and I work in the criminal justice space, and so the sheriff's office gets. I cannot believe how often this happens, and we're a smaller rural county, but it's usually someone older, but they'll get romantic scammed or like threat of fear scam or from the fraud department scam. Like, since when does the court need you to deposit Bitcoin because you missed jury duty that you never heard about? It's like, are you kidding me? And at one level, I'd be like, that's ridiculous. You're dumb if you believe that. At the same time, I don't know. I hope maybe as I get older, I don't know. I don't know. In my head, it's like I would never do this stuff, but I just know older folks that they cannot tell between a spam email and a literal update from their credit card company.
Right.
I'll have someone older like forward me an email and say, is this a scam? And I look at it and it's like, yeah, it's a scam. But people fall for it because it gets emotions involved, and they start with something maybe reasonable and plausible, and it builds from there, and they get sucked in. And the next thing you know, they're at an ATM depositing the cash because they think they're in trouble, or they've got a girlfriend or something. Yep. It's like, yeah, right. So anyway,
I was trying to scroll to find like some of the pictures I have over the years, and not the picture of a customer and not a picture of someone else. But in this one incident, this lady, and this happened a lot too, where this lady is like just adamant that she's not getting scammed, but I was 100% sure that she was, and I got so much better at it too. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let me, well, we can't just send it to him, so why don't you send me his ID? And she sends me a copy of his driver's license that she asked him for, and it's the freaking dude from. It was obviously a fake ID, but the dumb scammer used a photo of the guy from Below Deck, one of the ship captains. And he's
my boyfriend.
Yeah, totally, fiance. And and it's the captain with the white beard from Below Deck, and in the photo on his driver's license, there's like shadows and all this. Oh my gosh. Another woman was convinced that she was dating the Prince of Monaco, but under a different name, who wasn't that prince. Who and so she had sent me a couple pictures of this guy, and so I did. Google reverse image search, and found out who he really was, which is the Prince of Monaco, and his daughter. That when she gave this whole story, and what's crazy is she had what is called anchor effect with scammers, in that she must have, before she came to our Bitcoin ATM machines, she must have sent the guy so much money, because she's all, no, this isn't true, you're lying to me. And I'm literally showing her newspapers with images on them newspaper clippings from the internet of some of the images that she sent me. And so it's really sad too sometimes. Some people just are, especially older, may just be lonely and just like the attention, and these scammers will just work them.
I mean,
they said her grandma's been scammed so many times. Oh, that sucks.
I know an older person in my circle that has gotten attacked, and to this day believes that no, they're real. They just are struggling to travel here and stuff, but they've lost money. And now they're like, okay, no, I'm not giving them money anymore. But they also, in their back of their mind, because they want to or whatever, they believe that there's a relationship there. And a lot of these big pig butchering scam things, there were operations that, I don't know if they started in China, but there were a lot in China. And then China kind of cracked down on it, and they've moved to Vietnam and Thailand and Korea, but they're massive, and they make billions a year, like billions and billions of dollars. It's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, one thing I learned through the OneCoin scam, which I fought against for a long time, is that, and then from that, I started learning about other scams and stuff that that a lot of these scams will attack first world countries first. And this is a little bit different than the pig butchering, what you're talking about. These are straight Ponzi scams. A lot were in the cryptocurrency space in the, in the formative years, and still they are. I mean, BitConnect wasn't that long ago. Some of these other scams weren't that long ago. But they'll go to first world countries first, where people have more money or a little more affluent, and they'll capture that and then get out of there pretty quickly, because they know that the regulatory environment won't allow them to, that they have a certain window, right? And then they'll move into what you might call second world countries, where they can proliferate for a while. And lastly, they go through third world countries and poor areas that if they can convince the rich uncle or the smart grandpa or something like this to invest in it, not only will everyone in the family, but everyone in that village or town or things like that. And so they'll pool their resources together and collectively just lose so much money. It's really sad.
Yeah, America is like ripe for it in a way, because we got all these aging boomers, some of which, I mean, you may be widowed, or you just happen to be alone, or your your savings isn't going as far as you thought it should, but you see somehow people are making money on this crypto or gold futures or whatever, and they get suckered into it. And oh man, it's painful to see. But yeah, Biddy says she saved her grandma from it. I will talk to people about it, but they want to believe, because emotionally it fills something for them, or they get attacked through the scare tactic. But working in the fraud area, you saw so much of that. And
yeah, there were like three things that I kind of followed that were like fraudy and that were really interesting to me. The first was the O.J. Simpson trial many years ago. The second was the Casey Anthony trial, where she killed her daughter but was acquitted. And the third, after getting into Bitcoin, was the Paycoin scandal. And Paycoin was a Ponzi scheme that probably didn't even start as a Ponzi scheme. And Paycoin was kind of, back in the day, Litecoin used to be the silver to Bitcoin's gold, or at least that was the pitch, right? 2.5 minute instead of 10-minute block times. It was a lot cheaper. It was essentially built very similarly. But so that was kind of the Litecoin pitch. And at the time I fell for it in the early years, before really understanding what Bitcoin was. And Paycoin was another such project that came from a company called GAW, which was Geniuses at Work. And GAW miners, they were competing, I think, with Butterfly Mines at the time, GAW and Geniuses at Work, and they decided that they would point some of their hashing power at this Paycoin thing that they had created, and along the way they would embellish these partnerships and relationships that they had or were building. And so they at one point announced that they had partnership with Visa and MasterCard. Well, it just turns out that Visa and MasterCard allowed them to do like a gift card or something. I forgot exactly what it was, but it was fascinating. And in the Bitcoin forum, a lot of people are like, oh, this is going to be better than Bitcoin. And, you're going to be able to actually spend it. And, Kmart and Target are now making partnerships with Paycoin. And they were one of the sponsors at the North American Bitcoin conference that I went to in 2015. And Josh Homera Garza was the founder, was going to actually speak there. And I'd been following this for 4 or 5 months on the Bitcoin forums, and smart people that had been around for a little bit are like, bro, this isn't going to work because this, that, and the other, and you're lying, or at worst lying, at best fabricating the truth. in terms of what you're promising, what you're saying.
Mhm.
And Camaro, he was all flashy. He was driving around in Lambos and had Ferraris and had, tag or whatever, the Petite Philippe watches and all this, he was all showy and stuff. And he promised that, that they were going to go onto this exchange. And when they went onto the exchange, they would have a $20 floor. And so markets, be whatever. He's like, when we come onto, the exchange, when Paycoin gets there, which was going to be January 20th, I think. And I think the conference started on January 21st or 22nd. And he's like, we're going to have a $20 floor. There's no way that Paycoin can be less than $20. And so I go to this conference because I'm like, how could this possibly be? I have to be there. I got to see this guy. This is crazy, right? And there's freaking Paycoin logos on the side of the hotel building and downtown Miami. And Paycoin just starts crashing, right? And it's like like, and of course some of us knew that's what was going to happen. But we were watching it in real time. So whereas he was supposed to speak the second day and he was there the first day, he just disappeared at that. And then I was telling you a funny story last night, that during that time in early 2015, Roger Ver was still one of the good guys. He was
Bitcoin Jesus.
He was called that because he had given away more Bitcoin than anything and probably invested in 1,000 Bitcoin companies or something like this. And so he was planning on being there as well. And at the last minute, the Border Patrol or whatever agency it was that kind of oversees the visas and stuff like that said, nope, you're not coming to the United States. Screw you. Because he had, he had renounced his citizenship and he had been, he had trouble for shipping like fireworks. And they basically said the court said that he was shipping like explosive devices and stuff like this. And then, later on, Roger had it totally wrong, forked Bitcoin because he didn't understand what it was and how it was supposed to, this sort of thing. But in order to make that event, he borrowed someone's Segway and had a pull on the Segway with an iPad that he was controlling the Segway. And so he was zooming around with just as an iPad face like this on a Segway, going around that conference and stuff. And it was so funny. I remember Vitalik was there. He was talking about Ethereum. I think that was before even Ethereum launched. During that time, there was even the Bitcoin Foundation, which was kind of like an organization kind of representing Bitcoin's image or whatnot. I think Mark Karpeles may have been the first president of that. Bruce Fenton, either Mark or Bruce, but Bruce is still awesome. And Mark, I don't know, but Mark was Mount Gox, and there was just there's too much controversy behind,
and this is back in the years. So this is like at a Bitcoin conference where so much crypto, whether it was new ideas around the technology or just outright scams, people couldn't necessarily decipher what was and wasn't Bitcoin. The block size wars are going on. There were forks starting to happen. And over what is the most authentic chain or I guess if you're in base reality when you're operating on the longest chain, but all that started to fraction a little bit. But people authentically wanting to understand Bitcoin, I think it could be very confusing. Like you don't know what is or isn't Bitcoin. Is this just an upgrade to Bitcoin or what does it mean? Like they forked off? Just crazy time.
And it was great for us in the sense that it showed us and demonstrated that that power yields corruption, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And we would see, these people that seemingly came out with good intentions to start some altcoin, this, that, or the other, and then they would just turn into pompous dicks and, walk away rich and screw, basically most of their investors because I don't know, whatever. But Bitcoin can't do that. Bitcoin is just, it's just so solid, so awesome.
Yeah. I guess Roger Ver is not in custody anymore, but he spent quite a while in a Spanish prison, and
Yeah.
he's a citizen. He's a citizen now of like St. Kitts and I don't know where else, but like I don't know if he wants to go back to the States or where he is right now. But
No, he's in Singapore, I believe. Yeah, I
is he
think
in Singapore?
enjoying Singapore. Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, he was super cool back in the day. I have for anyone that's watching that doesn't know exactly what Bitcoin is and what it is, what Bitcoin Video Magazine is, every single issue. This is essentially what it is. So if we start here, we have News Desk, which kind of covers, what new people want to hear. And then
Bring
the
that
best.
a little closer.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah.
Is that it right there?
Yeah, I can just make it out. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is in 60 minutes. This is all the things that it kind of covers. And this was one of the early iterations before I, actually started making these sections, and we started creating these sections with culture and lifestyle for art, music, film, fashion, whatever. And so Tech Deck also, if anyone here is like an expert on, lightning or Fediments or Noster or what else, this sort of stuff, I'll definitely be happy to pay in Bitcoin for a tutorial on like Noster, for instance. And I've reached out to some people on that, or mining and energy. I have a call for mining and energy today to one of the Bitcoin Army plebs, and yeah. So this is, at some point I might even do a live chat and giveaway. I have a game that is called. So some college kids put together this Jeopardy template that you can play. And I figured I made a Bitcoin Jeopardy game out of it. And the way it works is, if you answer the question, or I guess Jeopardy is you don't answer the question, you state what the question
Answering the form of a question. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you win 100 or 1,000 or 200 or 500 or 1,000, and you could play back and forth in groups in sats. And so I think I'm going to start playing around with that, maybe on some live things like what we're doing. That'll be fun. Maybe in the future we'll do a live Bitcoin Jeopardy game to zap some sats out.
That'd be fun. Yeah. The hardest thing about for a lot of creators, and you feel like you never feel maybe quite ready to bite the bullet and go public with things. So you can have ideas, but then like taking that first action, that first step can be the hardest step. And then when I'll run into that. I'll always find excuses to make something just right before like I put it out there. And creators can run into that kind of inertia of just putting it out there and saying, okay, it is what it is. And then for you are doing a whole lot of different things. And then it's like, okay, honing that in on okay, how much time do I have? How much energy and sleep can I have?
Yeah.
So, focusing sometimes is a trick then, because you can, and business where it's like you do something, and on the third or fifth time something sticks.
Right.
But you don't give up after you have the first time doesn't work. Well, you get up and try again. You get up and you try again. So it's having that balance of getting up, trying, doing, and then putting that work into it, and then knowing to step back or change if it doesn't work. And if something's working, you keep going with it, but you kind of keep a balance of laser focus and yet also maintaining a flexibility of mind for creative ideas. And so, it's balancing all that. You got to do both, I guess.
Absolutely. And that brings up something that I haven't mentioned on any of these, which was that me and some friends put together, we had a lot of involvement in like kind of early Africa stuff. This actually, because we figured that African Bitcoiners would leapfrog into Bitcoin like they did, like they leapfrogged, landlines, like, and just went straight to cell phones. But this right here is, I honestly believe, the very first Bitcoin carving out of Africa. And this is from Freetown, Sierra Leone.
Oh, wow.
And this is from a group called Sierra Leone Liberty Group. One of their members or someone within them had kind of carved this. And it's so rad. Like you could see like the definition and stuff.
Oh, cool.
In this thing. But anyhow, what we were doing is we were kind of starting a consortium of Bitcoiners and Africans to kind of combat some of the scams and stuff that were going on, and just kind of also help network, some of their projects to get support from the United States. And later that became something that we called Narnia, which was New Africa Radio Network. And so Narnia, New Africa Radio Network, was originally going to be 80% Bitcoin content. And we were just going to use free and open source podcasts from Andreas Antonopoulos and other, podcast creators that we could put on this, that any African would know that would be a place to go for newafricaradio.net, that they could, hear Bitcoin stuff. But what happened, which was unintentional, it was pretty interesting, is that content creators themselves, who were musicians and rappers and stuff like that, they started to be like, hey, I want to be on New Africa Radio, And so they started submitting stuff, and it kind of started its own economy to where, like, the Bitcoin part, and it was never super successful, by the way. And it may or may not be up right now. I have no idea. I don't know if I go to New Africa Radio.
I'm curious. Yeah, I'll search.
It may or may not be there, but there still are groups in WhatsApp and whatnot that contribute to whatever their conversation is. And so that was, that never took off, but that was still in this kind of direction. But now I really feel super confident about this. I think it's, well thought out, well planned. And I think that the community driven aspect and the, SAT reward aspect, I don't see how it can fail.
Yeah, I was just searching for it. I found maybe a Facebook page. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to search for it, but it may be still going on.
Yeah.
Tell me about OneCoin. Yeah, I remember I heard a little some sort of news article or podcast thing about OneCoin, and it became a total cult. Like people got invested in it. They had like a leader in there that was espousing things about this OneCoin, WorldCoin thing, and it became like this cult following where people were pouring their life savings into it with the promise of this future, reality, spirituality almost. But I don't know. Yeah,
well, that OneCoin and WorldCoin were two different things. OneCoin particularly was started in like October of 2014 was when it first kind of came out, and then I was probably made aware of it in or around late March of 2015, and I had seen Facebook was kind of the main social media space back then. And there were just a lot of people posting about this OneCoin thing. And I didn't really think too much of it, other than a few times I had seen, some bombastic claims and stuff like that. And I just thought kind of, okay, whatever. It's, another shitcoin launch, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And then this one dude, all of a sudden, like, called me on Facebook Messenger. He's like, hey, this is Ryan such and such, and I saw that you're into Bitcoin, and there's this new coin that launched. It's great, and the one, it's founded by a woman named Ruja Ignatova, who's a double doctorate PhD. She has a 200 plus IQ, and on and on and on. And I'm like, yeah, bro, it kind of sounds like a scam. He said he sent me the website, and I looked there, and it was like something that you had to like join, right? You had to like join this thing. You had to pay for it. I'm like, what's this? And They didn't even accept crypto, by the way. They had credit cards they could accept payment for these education packages. I'm all, bro, I don't need no education package. I've been, even at that time, I was still into Bitcoin for a little while, more so than a lot of others. And I'm like, yeah, bro, this is a scam. And there's all kinds of spelling mistakes on their website and stuff like that. And they got better in terms of that perception. And so he's like, well, at least check out this mining video. And it explains, how OneCoin mining works. It was like a biggest 45-minute waste of my life. So I watched this thing, and I had already known it was a scam, but I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll save this guy. It sounds like he's invested in, the scam. And when I watched it, there was absolutely nothing at all whatsoever that explained mining even this much, despite that being the title of their video. And she's Ruja Ignatova, this Bulgarian woman who spoke 5 languages and, supposedly had, a few degrees. She was a smart woman. But she they ended up stealing a total of, according to the FBI and Department of Justice, like $4.6 billion over their up until 2019 when the arrests started happening, when her brother got arrested. So I was fighting this like kind of for a while because it was kind of entertaining, and and also another reason that I was fighting it is another important reason is because Bitcoin was still very young, and any scams made Bitcoin look bad, because even when I would tell people about OneCoin, they would come back and say, oh yeah, well, I heard about this, Bitcoin thing, and I thought it was a Ponzi scheme. And I'm like, bro, I didn't even say Bitcoin. This is not Bitcoin. This is this thing called OneCoin. And so, cryptocurrency, yes, whatever, same thing. And so I knew, and Bitcoin still had a pretty low market cap at that point. And it was very influential, some of the things that were happening. And if this scam got as big as we thought that it would, then it was going to cause serious damage, not only to its victims, but to just the image and brand of Bitcoin itself. So, it was kind of soldiering up, but also, having a couple beers and poking at some of the leaders and poking holes in their stories and gathering an arsenal of links and memes and other things that could discredit them for the lies that they were telling, and prove with sourcing that they A, didn't know what they were talking about, but B, were lying about a lot of stuff. And so we became the popular hated people in that group. And at one point they, right out after that thing, I told the guy, yeah, for sure, this is a scam. Get your money back as soon as possible. He wouldn't accept it, and life went on. And I kind of ignored it for a couple months, maybe 2-3 months, and it just started keep popping up on Facebook. And then I saw this event that they had in Dubai. And that was Ruja on stage in a big yellow, puffy dress with red lipstick on the biggest stage I've ever seen in my life. And they're throwing gold coins out into the crowd and saying that, OneCoin is backed by gold coins and all this other stuff. And when you really paid attention to the story, it didn't make sense at all. And one of my favorite lines from that presentation was that Sebastian, her cohort, and her had traveled deep under the sea to this gold vault that was in Dubai, that was hidden deep under the sea. And I'm like, I was like, this reminds me of
the stories get better.
Captain
Nemo.
Exactly. And it's like, there was such fantastical lies. And she had a couple interviews in early 2015, one with the Bitcoin embassy in Estonia, and they had asked her about the proof of work and some things like this, that and she totally bombed on that test, right? Which meant that she didn't know what she was talking about. And so she made it banishable for anyone that was in the organization to ever have any interview with any media whatsoever that was not directly signed off by the company.
Hence
Yeah.
the cult. Yeah. I think it was the Missing Crypto Queen series that I heard at least part of on the BBC, was it? Did you contribute to that then? The information?
Myself and others that kind of got interested in along the way, a NIM called Crypto Expose, and a dude named Bjorn Bjerke from Norway, and some other people in just various parts of the world started kind of teaming up, and we made some groups and got together and would like share information and go on to bulletin boards, because we were trying to attack media attention, like, you know, Wall Street Journal, the Times, and stuff like this, but no one was paying attention to us and there was starting to be a lot of money that was moving. At one point, it was $60 million a week that these guys were literally stealing. And so we're trying to build this up, and suddenly a member of our group was contacted by Georgia Cat, who is a producer of a BBC producer and a journalist, a best-selling tech author named Jamie Bartlett, and they talking to us, and we started sharing and really working together for about the next 8 months in 2019. And in that same year, in September, I believe it was, the first episode of the Missing Crypto Queen went out, and we were able to provide them with a lot of sound bites and videos and everything that was needed. And they were the first ones to really do it justice, and that helped us get a lot more bigger media on on the subject of Ruja, and on the subject of OneCoin, and helped, with arrests. I at one point did get contacted like by the FBI. It was at the end of December in probably 2016, and not 2016, in maybe 2017 or 2018, and they're like, "Hey, this is so and so from the FBI," and I'm all, "What took you so long?" And then some of the biggest members that realized that the heat was coming down on them, they started defecting, and we had infiltrated some of the groups to the extent where we would pretend to be OneCoin leaders in different areas of the world, and like they would like tell us like inside shit, and it was so crazy. We had like infiltrated them so good, and so we would come out and like announce these things, and then we found people, found like ex members that were at the top that chose to give us like inside information, and they're like, "Don't say anything about this, or else they'll know what it is, but do with the information as you need to in order to track it into such a." Dude, it was so fun. It was like like a choose your own adventure book, but or like a crime series show, but it was like live and happening in real time, and we were like all participants.
And the tech and the scam well enough to speak to anything that might come at you, and people would see you as a natural leader because you know what the hell's going on, and you can, if you're a good actor, you can just play that role. Yeah, and I just noticed on the podcast, it looks like they have even some recent issues out, like last month. I haven't listened to it recently, but I'm curious. It's a fascinating story. Like hang the scammers out to dry, and at the same time, people will follow it as a real interesting story. But people also will conflate crypto with just everything, Bitcoin and whatnot. So they'll hear about this amazing scam. And then they'll think, oh, well, Bitcoin's one of those digital asset things.
Well, we remember when FTX happened, and and right after that, like I had so many people being like, "Oh, didn't that just get like taken down? Didn't Bitcoin just get taken down by the and like isn't the leader going to prison?"
Right? Yeah.
We're still early. People still don't know, a lot of people still don't know. But that series became the #1 podcast series in UK, even surpassing the Joe Rogan Experience, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. And for a Bitcoiner, it's fascinating to see. all the crypto is so cringe to me. And so then I'll see, I don't know if you encounter as you work on Bitcoin Video Magazine, but people that want to connect with you I've talked to other, Bitcoin influencer folks that are straight up core Bitcoin maxi. That's their world. And they will get people coming to them that will proclaim that they're Bitcoin maxi, but it's kind of a Bitcoin skin they've put on top of some shitcoinery stuff. Do you ever have to manage some of that stuff?
Well, not so much yet. I mean, I have my cautions up and fairly good OPSEC, I think.
Yeah.
But I haven't had anything like that come up very well. But with having dealt with like the OneCoin thing and also worked on the victim advocacy side, which by the way is what those last 4 issues are about. And unfortunately, one of the people in our group, and help me tie this back to your original question, but let me go on a quick spin. One of those people in our group that worked with us very much so on the Missing Crypto Queen podcast was a former Bitcoin kind of, small leader. And she had brought her friends and family in to the tune of about $200,000. And that's one of the terrible things about some of these Ponzi schemes is that, a lot of times the promoters themselves are not aware that of the scam, and they're bringing in their wife and their wife's family and their best friends, and everyone loses money, and one person looks like the bad guy. And, and then they get a lot of hate. They have so much guilt and all this stuff. So Jen McAdam became a victim advocate and worked with us and with like the City of London Police Department and other law enforcement, the FBI, to really try to take down OneCoin. And she was a huge part and still is a huge part in terms of that, of not only the Missing Crypto Queen series, but also has kind of been self-appointed as like the victims fraud representative for other victims of OneCoin for the last several years. And those last 4 episodes are about some of the really shitty things that they've ran into, because they tried to launch a class action lawsuit, and the judge is like, I'm going to grant you this and I'm going to grant you that, and you maybe not this one. And then they got countersued, and the backers for this massive, one of the, I think the largest crypto class action lawsuit in Europe, the financial backers backed out. And you can imagine prosecuting a borderless, Ponzi scheme is just overwhelming.
Oh yeah.
But we were going somewhere at the beginning of that statement. I just wanted to mention Jen, because she's been doing amazing work and just not getting the reward that she should for as staunchly and outspoken as she's been, and the legal and death threats that she's faced.
Boy.
Yeah.
You get them going after you, like you're trying to pop a big Ponzi scam, and then they get their cult folks. So it makes me think of like, I don't know what, Scientology or something, but they start going after you.
Right. Well, I got sued in federal court on 77 counts of slander and obstruction of business by who I was claiming was a scammer that worked for and with and was paid by OneCoin, right? And so I have to be careful how I word that, but that was the accusation that I made. And so, so that's a very stressful situation. And, federal court ain't the shake a stick at. But, I really, in many ways, I wish I had just focused on Bitcoin and been doing, something that would have led me to where I am now earlier. But at the same time, it was important work to do. And really, if the community doesn't help police ourselves, the police will. ultimately, and that's not what we want. We don't want police and government. The least amount of police and government that we can have involved in the Bitcoin space, the better. The less laws, the better. The country doesn't get better with more laws. It gets better with less laws. And most actions and consequences already have laws that are built around them. To have a civil society, but we're over legislated at this point in terms of that.
Right. Yeah. Government will seize any opportunity to create, a temporary solution and make it effectively permanent, but to create more and more control, legibility over things, and then conflate who knows what. I keep hearing the current administration is like pro Bitcoin. And what I keep hearing is all this crypto stuff. And I just hope that the crypto fiat stuff can fade away and that Bitcoin stands alone, even as Bitcoin just simply functions. TikTok next block. It will, as long as it stays decentralized and secure, it works. Government and other entities, meanwhile, do want to get their grip into it. And so there's going to be like walled gardens that grow, or what, the ETFs or on ramps, off ramps, and all that. I remain positive and hopeful about where it's going. And some of this is just inevitable, but sovereignty is at its core what it's all about, and being your own bank, taking responsibility. Now, is it harder? Do you find it's harder to, and what you're doing is there's a time and a place to be a toxic maxi, and to protect Bitcoin from the scams, protect people from scams, and orient them to Bitcoin. Yeah. And yet when people get into Bitcoin for the first time, it's often very much number go up. It's hard to orange pill sometimes when they're just learning about it. And when the fiat price goes down, they're like, oh, I'm under, and da-da-da-da-da. It's a little harder in this climate, I suppose, to get people off zero, because people get off zero and then they're looking at the price in their fiat brain. And if they see that go down, they're not validated. And so it can be harder. But I think by doing what we're doing now, as we've been riding it down, as we put in the proof of work and the time in it, then as we climb back out and over time, the flywheel is going to start to build. And I think orange pilling will get easier again.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's not just Bitcoin that's not immune to these types of market shifts. I mean, literally last week in one day, silver did like a 38% dive in intraday trade and closed 30% below. That's never happened before. So, even Bitcoin didn't have that crazy of a drop, but you have to remind people that markets are manipulated, and that massive hedge funds are going to do crazy shit to be able to try to take and steal your bags for cheaper, separate you from them, right?
Yeah. There'll always be fiat games going on out there. Now, as we maybe perhaps land this plane or wrap up a bit here, is there, amongst all your stories that you have, and I know you could go on about it, is there anything that you want to share before I forget to bring something up or don't know about it? Anything about what you're working on now, or some crazy story in your Bitcoin journey that you want to make sure you share?
So I'm super excited about our profile this coming issue. It's going to be on on our company profile, which is on Bitcoin Art Magazine. So that's going to be fantastic. I'm working with Asanoho on that. And so that's really great. And then there's another Bitcoiner from France who during COVID sold all his, talked to his wife. They sold all of their earthly possessions and their apartment. And other than their camping equipment and their motorcycles, and bought Bitcoin with it, and decided to just start a journey around the world on their motorcycles. And so we're coming, what we have planned, and he sent in some great footage, and this is, I think, going to be my funnest section ever to edit and put together. And I'm hoping, and he already actually said that he would come on it with updates every episode, and like have a minute or minute and a half update or so. So we're going to call this the Bitcoin Motorcycle Diaries. So that's going to be fantastic, and I'm super excited about this next issue. We got all kinds of good stuff happening. I can't wait until we're doing this monthly, and then once we're able to do that steadily and do a good job at it, we're going to take it weekly. And then, and hopefully we go, hopefully bi-weekly before weekly. Yes.
Oh, wow.
And hopefully we hit that by the end of this year. I have another last piece of Bitcoin art that I want to show, which is really cool. And by the way, this is not an NFT or anything like this, but it is pretty cool. And it uses something called steganography. And steganography, you can embed Bitcoin. You can embed Bitcoin into actually using steganography, which might otherwise just appear as a picture or as a photo. And yes, there's some interesting things with this. Let me show you what this is right here. Okay, so if I go like this, can you see that?
I see it. Oh, wow. How does that work?
So through steganography, there's a print in there that functions as a key that triggers through this app. It unlocks a GIF, and so this turns into a GIF, and yeah.
What the heck? I've never seen that before.
Yeah, is that wild or what?
It's called, what is it? Not stenography or
steganography.
Steganography.
So, like, at some point, a private key could be turned into a set of emojis, and those emojis might represent a different, number or letter or whatever. That's the most basic way of how steganography might work, where you can just, pass or send, a chat with like literally emojis, and that would be a private key that no one would know that that's a Bitcoin key. But you could also do something like steganography, which this is kind of an example of, where you can embed an image, and if the recipient has a decoder, then he can decode that into a Bitcoin private key.
And that was just through your phone's camera. Like your camera could interpret the coded message in it and then display.
The camera itself couldn't, but there's an app called ArtVive, and the ArtVive app would be the one in which can do that. So what's kind of cool too is if you're an artist and you have some cool stuff, or you're an art collector or whatever, or have a cool photograph or anything like that, with AI now you can actually take that original piece, run it through a Grok or something, and then save that into like an ArtVive, and people that might have that, you could wear a t-shirt or something like this and have deeper hidden stuff in your shirt or whatever's, yeah.
ArtVive. Okay. Well, this is new to me. Web AR.
Obviously there's a lot of cool stuff out there, but good times.
Oh my gosh. That's new. That's very interesting. Awesome. Amazing. Yeah, that was so cool. And so who made that art piece then that you just showed us?
Oh, this is Josie, and Josie has a lot of really cool art. Actually, that's one of my favorites, and Lucio Paletti is another of my favorites. This guy right here, this is awesome work. And that's a limited edition. And then I got this right here is pretty badass, and that was with the block number, published on it. So yeah, I mean, Bitcoin art is rad. I love it. I love collecting. I wish I had more. And so this upcoming feature on Bitcoin Art Magazine is going to be really exciting.
Oh man, so Asanoa is aware of this.
Oh no, we didn't tell him. It's going to be a surprise.
Okay, well, don't
Just
listen to
kidding,
this,
bro.
Asanoa. Be surprised.
Yeah.
Bitcoin Art Magazine, their Genesis edition is out. It would be awesome to have some of that art vibe stuff in a future edition of Bitcoin Art Magazine. And I mean, that's an untapped area. I'd never thought
Yeah,
about.
that's interesting. We're giving away a Bitcoin Art Magazine, or Bitcoin Art Magazine's helping us give away that as a prize for our Bitcoin on the Streets section. And we also have a lifetime membership to Club Orange to give away, stamp seed set, which would be like this right here. Let's see. This is like a seed set where you can, stamp your private keys into some cool stamp sets. I got some different cool little stamp sets. This is one from Pacific Bitcoin, and that has your seed phrase in there. That's titanium. I got a couple of those right here. This one's the Satoshi one, and then this one is, I don't know, it has a different thing, but I won something from Stamp Seed, which is pretty badass, and that's from Prague, and that's a number 21 of 21 limited edition one, which is rad.
Cool.
Super stoked on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're one of our sponsors, as is Club Orange and FOMO 21 and Air BTC. So we want to, and we're looking for more sponsors for sure. So so long as it's a Bitcoin only company, we would love to talk to you if you're listening to this. And we definitely work for our sponsors and help promote their Bitcoin only products. So
yeah, and it aligns with my values of getting off zero, running a node, but take self-custody. And when people first hear about taking self-custody, they think, okay, yeah, you get your 12 words or 24 words and all that, sure. But then it's like, okay, that's very important. So you want to keep that secure and safe. So you think about the most extreme situation where you have your treasury now, or something that's worth something to you, and you want to stamp that in steel. So when people first hear about like putting it in steel, it's like, okay, that seems extreme, but it's important actually. If you scratch or stamp it on steel, you got your seed phrase, not just safe, but impervious to forces of nature.
Yep.
You don't lose it.
Yeah, or if you're giving it away to a family member or a dear friend or a spouse or something like that, that's definitely a good way to do it, and hide it in behind drywall or somewhere that even if your house burns down, a titanium plate is not going to melt, and you're going to still have that seed phrase. Yeah,
totally. Get it on steel, have it obscure or hidden and small, and totally. Oh man, this has been amazing. I've learned some things today, and your stories starting from some early days in Bitcoin were great to hear. Between the crazy early days of Bitcoin, the fraud, the scams, and the orange pilling today, and now Bitcoin Video Magazine, still pretty new, but you're going to have a pace of a lot of video editing as you go monthly, and even faster. So.
Yep. And we'll bring, as we get successful, that means that more sponsors will respect what we're doing and the numbers that we're beginning to pull in, and want to have the brand association and outreach that we grow by being true to form and true to what I think our mission is in Bitcoin. And so we're definitely going to bring others into the fold slowly and steadily as we grow, in terms of there's I don't want to say too much, but Bazooka Man, this guy is freaking awesome, and I want him on our team full time. So, but we'll get there. We're gonna get there. We're gonna I think we're gonna have to do a geyser fund, probably just to start things out for the next month or two. But but ongoing, I see Bitcoin companies wanting to be a part of this because it's something new and it's something different. And yeah, I'm excited.
Bitcoin Bazooka is listening and excited.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to the Bitcoin Army, by the way. Just a great community to join. If you're a Bitcoiner and you're not a member of the Bitcoin Army, it's a great place to curate your feed a little bit, if you will, to get the straight Bitcoin signal, not just rely on an algorithm, but you can tap into all the other Bitcoiners out there that are doing a lot of good stuff. And you've been there a lot on their spaces and sharing your Bitcoin video magazine work. And anyway, I'm just super excited for it. And so is Bitcoin Bazooka. So
Yeah.
I look
And
forward.
and sweet Biddy McGee is been like clutch, and so she's introduced me to so many people, and so many of those connections have actually led to great discussions and upcoming work and stuff like this. So it's an incredible. She's an amazing just voluntary spokesperson or whatever you call her. I don't know, but just stoked on community and stoked on Bitcoin. That's really what you can see me smiling half of this, at least half of this, podcast. And it's just a blessing to work in this space and to be involved in this space at any level. Yeah.
Yeah. Good Bitcoiner folks like Biddy. She's, I think I made the analogy of she's like the butterfly in the garden of Bitcoin, where she's here and there and everywhere, and she's promoting and
that is so
and
awesome.
and reposting. And Biddy Biddy's got the vibe going on and is, super sociable and sharing and gracious with her attention. So yeah, we love you, Biddy. And shout out to Bitcoin Bazooka as well.
And thank you so much for having me. This is great. I'm so happy that we got to hook it up today, kind of unexpectedly and last minute, but appreciate you and what you're doing, and keep it going. Yeah,
definitely. So check out Bitcoin Video Magazine. You can go to their YouTube channel. Let me share that here real quick. You can go to youtube.com at Bitcoin Video Magazine. You can click this little subscribe button right there. And as issues come out and other little short clips, it'll be there. So, and then you can be found at
EZ Coin Access. That's the letter E, the letter Z as in Zeta Coin Access on Twitter. And then I guess Nostr, you need a pub key. Temptation is my NIM, TIMTAYSHUN. Yeah, that's me.
Temptation. You can on however you get to Nostr on your app, you can find Temptation on Nostr as well.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, you've been a great follow. I'm just super excited to see what's coming. You're making great videos, and I saw a little premiere of your issue number 2 coming, and so it's tantalizing. I can't wait to see the rest of it.
Yeah, audio-visual stimulation is where it's at. We want to bring back the fun in Bitcoin for sure. We want to start a new army. We want to raise new generation and be part of that and pull up the flag.
Awesome. Look forward to it, man. And cheers. Thanks for joining me today. It's great to have you share everything you had.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. We'll catch you next time, everybody. Bye.